guys are doing well. I am the director and CEO of Khrysalis Training and Consultancy LLP. We are into training and development of corporates. It's been about 13 plus years since I have been into training and development, but it's not about me. It's about something that we've brought to you, which is called Rewind. Now, what is this Rewind all about? Rewind is about getting back to work. As people have started going back to offices, there are a lot of workplace challenges that our employees have started facing, employees across domains have started facing. So we thought of coming up with this initiative where we can get together some industry experts and we can get to know what exactly are some of the challenges that they are facing in their domain, in their workspace. So to discuss this today is the first episode of Rewind, where we are going to talk about the workplace challenges from the hospital's perspective. And for that, we have two very special guests with us. One is the person from the hospital itself, Mr. Arindam Dey Sarkar, who is in Woodlands Multi-Speciality Hospital. He takes care of the service excellence. He's the DGM Service Excellence and Hospitality Management, a stalwart of the industry, taking care of service excellence. And we also have Mr. Abhiroo Banerjee, who will be our transformer, our engager for the day, who will help us to understand this from the HR strategy point of view. He's also another stalwart from the industry, spent close to about 2+ decades working with different organizations. So here we are in conversation with the three of us. And I'm sure by the end of this discussion, you will be able to connect with the challenges that we bring out during our discussion. So here we are, and yes, the first question I would like to ask Mr. Sarkar to you, since you work with the hospital so closely and you're so connected with the service excellence team, you take care of it. Working in hospitals had always been a very challenging situation. So given the pandemic, given the current situation, has anything changed?
Yeah, see, whenever we think of hospital, the first thing comes in mind is the fearness. So whether it's a pandemic or non-pandemic, is basically people are very scared of going to an hospital. And when we are talking about the pandemic situation where the patients or the family members are coming to the hospital, again, it's much more scary for them. And when whatever we are finding in the TVs and the newspapers about this coronavirus thing, people are getting much more scared because we cannot see it in our bare eyes what's the infection spreading and how the infection is going to transmit from one person to another person. In that particular case, definitely we in the Woodlands Hospital, we have developed a lot of strategies where we can definitely from the patient's perspective as well as the staff perspective, both we are actually taking a lot of care in terms of our wearing these PPEs, following the isolation protocols. And again, also the most important thing that we are following in this particular pandemic situation is the understanding and making the patient family understand that what this pandemic is and what this coronavirus is. So basically, when we talk about any patient, when they call up in a hospital and want to make a patient get admitted in the hospital, definitely we have got a lot of channels through which this admission process comes. So sometimes a patient comes directly to our emergency. So sometimes the phone call comes to our medical department that a patient is coming. So whatever the way the patient is coming to a hospital, we give a very brief about the whole scenario. Like whenever a patient is coming to an hospital, say it's not a pre-planned admission, so all of a sudden the patient comes. So we have our emergency department where everybody is under PPE and it's an isolated area where we accept the patients and we do all the prior whatever the checks needs to be done. We have a checklist of it and we do the checking of it, and then we keep the patient in an isolated zone where we do the testing, the COVID testing, and then we take it to the whatever the report comes, accordingly we transfer the patient. But yes, definitely the patient family members are also very scared because they think that if the report comes positive, then we are also become positive. But yes, they may become positive. But remember one thing, it's not so scary. Initially, yes, we didn't knew about how the disease was getting mutated and how the character was there of the coronavirus thing. But we gradually we have understood and we have gone through the total protocols and understood that yes, it can be handled nicely. And the most important thing is that the confidence of the institution, the doctors needs to give to the patient family members. It's nothing so be fairy, but yes, if we follow the protocols, definitely it is very easy. We can handle it. But the most important thing, remember always that any disease, any virus can spread at any way. But taking into consideration of the spreading part, we also need to follow the protocols like wearing mask, wearing your PPEs, washing your hands in frequent intervals with the soaps. Don't talk to any person who are very close to each other without mask. Then we have got a lot of PPEs also came into the market, which actually helped us in preventing ourselves from the other people. But we don't know whether the other patient actually has got any coronavirus or not, because you may have symptom, you may not have a symptom. So all these clubbed together, the most important thing that we need to follow is a golden thumb rule is you need to be protected by yourself, and definitely you will follow what the protocols needs to be followed during this scenario. So that's what I find during this time. The patients have been told, the patients have been guided, their relatives have been guided. That's what I found. This we have been able to tackle these pandemic conditions and the situations.
Right, right. Like you rightly said, there's a lot of panic because initially, of course, we did not understand what to do. And being in the hospital scenario day in, day out, I'm sure you would have seen it all the more. I'm glad
Exactly.
that you mentioned about the kind of things that you all are doing to ensure, there's a curtail of these panic, definitely. Now, coming to the patient or the patient party's point of view, or from the staff's point of view, what are some of the workplace challenges that they are facing? Either the patient and the patient party or the staffs across different levels.
See, first I will take the patient's part, because normally what used to happen previously, that we used to have a very good timing of the visiting hours. So whenever a patient is admitted in the hospital, the family members used to come and meet their patients. So in a psychological way, if you look at the patients, used to get much more moral boosting, that at least my family members I can see morning or evening, like that. But looking at this pandemic situation, we have restricted those particular entries of the outsiders or the family members to coming into the place. So again, it's a mind block where you will not be able to meet your patients. But yes, we have made where we have actually used our technology. We have introduced a tablet where we can connect it virtually with the family members, and we have given a specific timing to the patient relatives where we are doing these virtual connections with the family members. Even from the young to the old, everybody is connected with that. So, and we also follow a checklist that which all patients are in a condition to speak to their family members virtually. We do that, and it's done on a regular basis, so that they are virtually connected, your morals get little boosted up. But yes, we restrict them because we don't want their family members to be infected. So that's the one thing that has been stopped during this difference between the normal and the pandemic case. But the most important thing that is that since we have restricted those people coming into the hospital, in a way we are actually also protecting them from this disease. That is also a part. Now when I'm coming back to the staff issues, yes, they are actually fighting, and hats off to all the medical nursing support service team, because whenever they have to work in this COVID zone, they have to wear their PPEs. And honestly speaking, the PPEs, if you wear, a person wearing a PPE and working for 2 to 3 hours at a stretch, is a very, very troublesome thing for them. It's a very suffocating thing, but yes, they have to, because it's from the safety from both the ends, from the patient as well as the staff. So we have introduced much more better qualities of PPEs, where comfortness can be achieved little better. And also we have isolated zones where we don't allow any all the stuffs to enter into the thing. We have implemented a lot of disposable things for the patients, so that contaminations get restricted. And we have also introduced a lot of disposable plates, trays, cups, spoons, etc., so that we don't have to rewash those things and use it for the patient again. So it's a one time use and then throw it, so that the The most important thing that we always try to contain the disease, not to transmit from one part to another. That's one. The second most important thing is that yes, we do follow a lot of disinfection processes, whether it's a surface cleaning, whether it's a fumigation, whether it's a carbolization, everything we have to follow. Say, for example, a patient today gets discharged in a condition where the patient can be discharged. So that room we need to do a special care in terms of your disinfection. Then it's a thorough cleaning. Then everything is being cleaned nicely, and we take a lot of time to, because the disinfectants needs a contact time also to act onto the surfaces to be make it what we call the infection free. So on those particular cases, what we do is we have a stipulated period of time which we take from the admission team, that this is the thing that the housekeeping team will require to get this ready for the next patient, which is absolutely an infection free room. Because any droplet, if we allow to keep into the room, it may be a chance for again the next patient to get more contaminated. So that's the thing that we follow. The F&B team, they also have a separate way of distributing the foods to the patient. The nurses, they do follow a lot of good ways of handling the patients in terms of their disinfection. The file doesn't go inside the patient room. We always try to keep everything in the nurses station, so that everything whatever they needs to be in keep as a record is all being taken in a digital format. So that's what we have here. Definitely I must say that the artificial intelligence and the technology has played a major role in helping this pandemic situation, because uh, most important thing is that currently we can connect to each other. That is the only way, is the technology through the virtual or through any other way of the technological support. And believe me, it has we have been working with these restrictions of say about 8 to 9 months, and people are used to it now. And the doctors, the nurses, the support service team, mm, they actually really worked hard and tirelessly, morning, evening, night, because we get patients like 24/7. So that's what the challenges are. But yes, initially it was a little bit of troublesome, but gradually, as we have understood the situation, the pandemic cases, definitely the government has also given a lot of guidelines to follow. The WHO has also given a lot of ideas how to combat with this situation. We have done it. And the good part of it is that now all the stuffs, if you ask anybody that do you know anything about PP, they will say everything we know, the A to Z we know about PP. So that's what we have found. And I must thank to the entire Woodlands management team, who has actually given a good support to all the people, right from senior management to even a new joinees. Everyone has been following a lot of disinfectant, auto sanitizers machines, and then your literature, the guidelines, the protocols, everything we have been able to give it to the patients, to the staff, even to the patient family members. That's what we have tried a lot to restrict the spread of infection from the one patient to another.
That's wonderful to hear. In fact, hats off definitely to each staff who's been working over these 9 months non-stop, while to ensure that we all are safe.
Yeah.
Each person, everybody has been putting a lot of effort, and we are so glad to hear about, the different protocols that's been followed. So what I gather from the insights that you've shared with us is, from the patient and the patient party's point of view, there's a lot of thinking or feeling of not being together. So there's a lot of social disconnection, because of which the panic gets generated, is something that you've rightly pointed out. And from the staff's point of view, there are a lot of following of protocols, which is definitely there so that we can contain the spread of virus. However, somewhere probably their stress level or the amount of time that they used to put into work has definitely gone up, is what I can understand. So
Yes.
amount of stress has gone up, and maybe the amount of pressure that was there comparatively has definitely gone up a lot. So thank you so much for
Yes.
sharing those perspectives with us. Abhirup, since you are from the HR domain, being an HR strategist, what is your take over the conversation that we are having? If you can share some insights with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Nilu, and thank you, Mr. Sarkar, for such insightful, and obviously hospital has been, it's the only, I think one of the few industries which has not stopped during lockdown, you know. What I have seen from an HR perspective, the primary challenges, you know, most of similar organizations, whether it's, you know, hospitals or, you know, whether it's essential services, you know, there were two phases. One was the lockdown phase and one was an unlockdown phase. You know, in the lockdown phase, people were at home, so things were still easier to manage. But when the unlock happened, there was a sense of panic where a lot of people went into panic. There was a sense of freedom, which included in panic. So all the people who were actually going back to work, and which is your topic called rewind, so they had this very, very confusing feeling that, you know, it's good to go back to work, but what if I get infected? You know, and typically from a hospital's perspective, maybe that was not really the case because, you know, because they were constantly working. But I think one of the core areas where I felt they actually faced a lot of, you know, challenges was, you know, the social acceptability of the people who were working in the hospital. You know, we always seen, even in the news, and also have seen doctors where, you know, they were not really accepted, and they were in the society because, you know, because there was so much of panic in the neighborhoods that, you know, people were working, and they will get affected and this and that. So I think these creates a lot of stress. Another thing which I think slowly, which is creating a lot of disparity, is the uh, you know, the facilities that we are offering to our employees. You know, a lot of organizations, see, the trains are not working, so a lot of people who used to come to work from outskirts of Calcutta, they are getting really affected because either they have to travel long hours, which is a huge humongous effort from their side, or the organization has to spend a lot of money to actually bring them to work again, you know, sending them to back to home. So from an economic perspective, also from an organization, so let's say like, you know, Mr. Sarkar was saying, there's so many, you know, PPE kits, infects, you know, sanitizers and sanitization and video calls. I mean, this was not there, you know, this has just happened in last 8 months, and it adds to the cost to the organization, which actually might not be, you know, possible to transfer to the consumer at all, but because the consumer is also, they don't have the, you know, enough buying power now, so that the hospitals also cannot increase the price, you know, suddenly. So I think overall it's a situation which is you know, there, even for the employees also, they are also in a very you know, situation where even they are going back to work, but with a lot of gray area, a lot of confusions about policy, work from home, because these things are not really set, which we were not ready for it. I mean, let's accept it. I mean, we are still, you know, we are still learning. I mean, every day is kind of a learning from whether we are in operations or whether in HR, we are all learning how to handle various kind of situations. You know, there are certain organizations where they had certain pay cuts, and now how do you administer pay cuts, and what if you're doing a pay cut and the, you know, the employee goes back and files a case because there's a government directive that you cannot do a pay cut, and the person is not coming to office, and then because the person is not coming to hospital, and then you do a pay cut and then say that I cannot come to hospital because I stay in a place where there is no transport. I mean, these intricacies actually create a lot of challenges in the HR domain also. I'm sure from the administrative part also, these are the challenges that we are keep facing. And hopefully, yes, we are working on solutions, how to manage. People are getting more adaptable, acceptable, and adjustable. As time passes, we'll definitely learn more.
Right. Thank you so much, Abhirup. And definitely you've brought out the right point from an HR's point of view that yes, there are a lot of policies that protect employees. And of course, none of us were prepared for such a pandemic to happen. But of course, we are grappling with it. It's been 9 months and it's been a long, long journey that we all have covered together. To sum up the discussion, the wonderful discussion that all three of us had was definitely there are a lot of panic that either the patient, the staff, or everybody in and around the hospital fraternity is definitely facing. These are a couple of challenges that we've just discussed. So whether in terms of panic, whether in terms of the stress level rising up, the time pressure, the amount of effort the amount of resources being used, the amount of cost going up. All these things are various perspectives that we've discussed today. But to everybody who's watching and viewing and seeing this, it's just not about the challenges that we face. It's also about the solutions. So what we intend to do is, here we are covering the challenges, and in the next episode, we are going to bring about certain solutions, certain tips, certain techniques, or certain possible ideas on how these kind of problems can be controlled, these kind of problems can be countered. And that is what we'll do in the next episode. To everybody who's watching right now, in case you are working with a hospital or you're working with any other domain, and if you are also going back to office, is there any challenge that you are facing? Is there any workplace challenges that you're facing? Please feel free to share it with us in the comment box. We would love to take it up in the future episodes of ours. So thank you so much, Mr. Dey Sarkar, Mr. Arindam Dey Sarkar, and Mr. Abhirav Banerjee for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.